guys, if you know the song Tempestad from Juan Serrano, and you should, if you don't know it, I'm going to teach it to you in this lesson anyway. I've taken the song and flipped it upside down into the parallel major key for a whole new song I'm going to teach you in this tutorial. If you play nylon string guitar, rumbas are super fun to play. There's tons of them out there, and there's some that we just need to know, like if you play electric guitar, you got to be able to play Crazy Train or some riff like that, right? I think this is one of those must-play riffs for nylon string guitar. Really cool song. I mean, it's more than a riff, it's an entire song, but it gives us some essential technique stuff that we need. A great little rumba pattern that we can use, and we can modify that rumba pattern in different ways if we want to. But what this video is intended to do is to show you a little bit about music theory and how you can really make your own song using another song as a template. So I'm going to walk through Tempestad section by section and show you the original and how to play that, and then how I've changed it into the parallel major key for a whole new melody. Okay, the original song is in the key of E minor. We have an E minor chord and an A minor and a B7 for the main section of the song. The main theme, that's really it. That's a 1-4-5. Well, if we were in E major, what's the 1-4-5? Well, E major is the 1 chord. We still have B7 for the 5 chord, and we're going to play B7 over F sharp for the most part instead. And then instead of A minor, we have A major. So that is the E major scale. And the 1-4-5 are all major chords in the major scale, and those are the chords that we get. So there's plenty of songs that you've probably already played that kind of capitalized on this idea anyway. If you know Romanza, it's in the key of E minor, then the first section or the A section ends on an E minor chord, and then it goes to the parallel major of E major for the entire B section. Very, very common thing to do, and you'll hear that in a lot of songs from the Romantic period. Like most of the Spanish guitar repertoire, they do that all the time. So many of those miniatures by Tárrega, it's in a major key, and then it goes to the minor key. And some songs will even do those and interpose them on top of each other inside the same section, the idea of the parallel minor and parallel major. So let's look at our scales first. In the key of E minor, in the open position, we have this. And there's a wrinkle in our music theory thing here. In a minor key, we are going to raise the D to D sharp over the B7 chord. Some might argue that's even a little bit of a modal interchange right there. That B7 could be said to be coming from the parallel major, but we really just call that the harmonic minor scale. Okay, in the key of E major, we have 4 sharps. So that is the scale that I'm thinking of when I change Juan Serrano's song. Okay, the basic rumba pattern here is going to be this. Thumb, thumb down, thumb up, slap. With the index we go up, down, up. So that initial thumb stroke was a single note. That's our rumba for this song, and that is literally what he writes on the page in his book, Basic Techniques, that famous flamenco book from Juan Serrano. Another way to do that, if you don't like that thumb stroke, sometimes I'd rather go down with my index finger, so we could also go. Notice I still did an upstroke with my thumb. So thumb, single string, then down with the index, up with the thumb, slap, and then up, down, up. We're really playing a quarter note, and then all 8th notes, including the slap. The slap is also an 8th note. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And... Okay, the real song begins like this. He does these taps right there. Now that sounds very Arabic, right? Harmonic minor scale. We have a rest there, and then he goes into the rhythm. Okay, what would that look like in the major key? It would sound a little bit more happy. All the same rhythms, and here's our progression in the major key. So I'm really just starting on the same note that he did and just altering the notes if I need to fit the new key of E major. Okay, the main theme of Tempestad goes like this. Now let's make it major. You already heard me do it at the beginning. One thing to point out here, in the book he really doesn't tell you, should you let those bass notes ring out as you play the melody like this? Some people might say that that sounds more full. I like to kill it though, to bring more attention. Sometimes I'll kill it, to bring more attention to that melody. So So that's up to you. Okay? But in the major key, that whole main theme would sound like this. Here we have this B flat or A sharp note. That's just a lower neighbor, we could call it. Right? He goes in the original E minor, but we're going to C sharp, right? So we'll keep that weird accidental, that non-diatonic note, but everything else needs to be altered for our new key. Now right there, the last note in the melody was the B string, just as it really is in the real version, and I'm playing B as the bass note, which is part of this chord. Remember, it's an E major chord, not minor. And there's our rumba. Leave your index finger down on G sharp. Down here to F sharp. Now in the song, the original version, he does a chord progression here where he goes A minor, which is the 4 chord, back to the 1, 5. Those are our Roman numerals, those chords, assigning them a function, functional harmony, the 1, 4, 5, that Roman numeral stuff, right? Now if we were in the major key, all right, let's go to the next part. Now, in the original version, the second part, after the main theme, goes. He's back to the chords, right there. He does a lot of that tapping where he's going tap, tap, tap. He doesn't really say in the music. I remember listening to the CD or the cassette, but I forget what he does. But you also could just slap it like this, and really just any kind of percussive thing you want to do there. 2, 3, 4. We're also going to see that at the very end of the song. So let's do that one more time. There's that part. Let's make it major now. Now we're on to what I would call the B section here. Now he does something right here that we might have to change, because I don't know if you know about Juan Serrano, but he does a rasgueo in a way that nobody else does, apparently because when he was learning as a kid, he thought that's how you were supposed to do it, right? So he does this really bizarre, I think, rasgueo that goes index down and then pinky, ring, middle, instead of going, what most people do is, pinky first like that. So he goes 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. And it actually makes a lot of sense to do that because we're going down on a really accented part. That's the downbeat, though. That's where the number would be if we were counting in a group of 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3. I find it really hard to do that because I didn't really, I haven't done it for years and years. You can do almost any combination if you practice it enough. It's going to be comfortable and you're going to be able to do it well and fast. But I like to just go like this. Right there, kind of an easier way to get out of that section, or you could double time it. And I'm using the triplet rasgueo right there, which is a great, like, all-purpose, flashy thing if you need it, right? Going up with the thumb, down with the middle, down with the thumb, and just repeating that. And that takes some doing to get that really fast. But if you don't double time it like I just did, or don't do it twice as fast, it would sound like this, which is pretty manageable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And that gets us into the B section. So in the major key would be same thing on a major chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, the melody of the original B section goes like this. Into the progression again. Some tricky stuff there when he does these quicker triplets. And we have to jump over to this D7 chord. In the original song, we are in the key of E minor, right? We're going to the relative major of G major. That's why there's a D7 chord. Now it sounds kind of happy, right? But that's not to be confused, hopefully, with the parallel major. So if we're in the key of E minor, G major is the relative major, but E major is the parallel major. So parallel means we have the same root note. So E major, E minor, those are parallel. Relative means they share the same notes. So you might already know that the major scale has a minor scale living in it on the 6th scale degree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I play the notes of G major starting on E, we get the E minor scale. So a little more theory there for you. So now that we're in the B section and the original song has gone to the relative major, what are we going to do? Let's just do the opposite. That's what we're doing. We're taking the song and just kind of flipping it upside down. So instead of going to the relative major, we're going to go to the relative minor of E major, which is C sharp minor. So wherever your major scale is, go down 3 frets to the left, and you'll find where the minor scale lives. And in this case, it's C sharp minor. The 5 chord, which is the equivalent of B7 in the key of E minor, is G sharp 7. And that's going to be our harmony for this part, right? So to recap, the real one is, okay, that's the 5 chord about to go to G. But if we make it major, or rather the relative minor of the parallel major, which is like a lot to think about, right? Would sound like this. See, I'm doing as much of the same stuff as I can. So in the melody, he goes, in the real thing, he goes da da, starting on a G note, da da. Well, all the G's have been sharp, so I'm going to start on G sharp, and I'll just go down the scale and land on this note D sharp rather than D in the original, and play what I know is the 5 chord of that relative minor. So when you learn a lot of this theory stuff, I mean, you really can like juice up your creative process by flipping things around like this, and before you know it, you have a legitimately different song that is yours. If we keep going with this logic in the B section, we have this. C sharp minor. Now here I'm going to go to, in the original piece, we went to a C diminished 7th chord. We can still do that on this key because that diminished 7th chord is just a substitute for B7. You also can play a normal B7 if it sounds more like in keeping with the major scale there, but I'm going to go like this. Same chord from the original. Okay, now we're back to the E finally, right? This time though, in the original he went as a variation, good little piccolo exercise. These are 8th note triplets. Now I'm doing them in the major key. There we are. Got our chord progression there. Now in the original, he goes to the 4 chord, to the 1, 5, and the 1. Then to do it, he wants to do it again, but he changes where he does it just for a variation. So we'll do A minor here, then he goes up E minor right there, same chords though, B7, E minor again, A minor, E minor, and then, so that's almost like a gypsy jazz ending right there that you hear. Really cool kind of jazzy ending. So in the major key, we would have this, the 4, 1, 5, 1, and then move it up. So this exercise is really a great way to apply some of the music theory ideas that you know, kind of test it out. You could do this on a ton of nylon string songs or really any song. Just think, what is the parallel major, the parallel minor? Flip it around, mess with it, and you can even do this with modes too, if you know that. Like make it in the Mixolydian mode instead of the major scale, which would really mean only changing one note, but it totally can change the vibe of things. So this original song by Juan Serrano is called Tempestad. I think a great name, since we turned it upside down, would have to be a Spanish word, maybe starts with the same letter, maybe ends with the same few letters, and is the opposite of Tempestad. What would that be? I'll think about that. If you want the tab to this and really all of my tabs with play along videos for each one of my painstakingly tabbed out songs, you can get that by subscribing to my sheet music subscription, or become a full member and get all my tabs, all my play along videos, and all my courses and all my tutorials that I'm constantly adding to right here at the link in the description. And believe it or not, there's even more we can do with this Rumba by taking it and using it as a template for improvisation, and I'll show you how to do that in this video.